Well, Dr. Jung, we have been discussing in some detail some of the factors in the development of the personality of the individual, and you have very kindly elaborated for us on some of your fundamental concepts, such as the archetype, and at least simply what it means, and certain types of archetypes, such as the anima and the animus. And we try to show, perhaps in our discussion, some of the ways that your ideas may have differed from those of Dr. Freud. Now, another concept or idea that seems to be a very interesting one in your work, at least as I see it, is the term or concept persona. And, of course, this seems to have a lot of relevance to the daily living of the individual. I wonder if you would mind telling us a little bit about how you construe this term, persona.
Well, this is a practical concept we need in elucidating people's relation. I noticed with my patients, particularly with people that are in public life, that they have a certain way of presenting themselves. For instance, take the doctor. He has a certain way. For instance, he has good bedside manners, and he behaves as one expects a doctor behaves. He may even identify himself with it and believe that he is what he appears to be.
Yes.
He must appear in a certain form, unless people don't believe that he is a doctor. And so when he's a professor, he's also supposed to behave in a certain way so that it is plausible that he is a professor, you know. So the persona is partially the result of the demands society has. And on the other side, it is a compromise with what one likes to be, or with what, or as one likes to appear. Say.
Yes.
Take, for instance, a parson. He also has his particular manner, and as corresponding to the general expectation, and he behaves also in another way, combined with his persona that is forced upon him by society, in such a way that also his fiction of himself, his idea about himself, is more or less portrayed or represented. So the persona is a certain complicated system of behavior, which is partially dictated by society and partially dictated by the expectations or the wishes one nurses oneself.
Yes.
Now, this is not the real personality, in spite of the fact that people will assure you that that is all quite real and quite honest, yet it is not.
Yes.
Now, such a performance, or say, the performance of the persona is quite all right, as long as you know that you are not identical with the way in which you appear.
Yes.
But if you are unconscious of this fact, then you get into sometimes very disagreeable conflicts. Namely, people can't help noticing that at home, for instance, you are quite different from what you appear to be in public.
Yes.
And people who don't know it stumble over it in the end. They deny that they are like that, but they are like that. They are it. And then you don't know, now, which is the real man?
Yes. Yes.
Is he the man as he is at home or in intimate relations? Or is he the man that appears in public? It is a question of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
Often.
Yes.
It is such occasionally there is such a difference that you would almost be able to speak of the double personality.
Yes.
And the more that is pronounced, the more people are neurotic.
Yes.
They get neurotic because they have two different ways. They contradict themselves all the time, And then in as much as they are unconscious of themselves, they don't know it. They think they're all one. Everybody sees that they are two.
Yes.
And some know him only from one side, so others know him only from the other side. And then there are situations that clash, because the way you are creates certain situations with people in your relations, and these two situations don't chime in, they are just dissonances.
Yes. Yes.
And the more that is the case, the more the people are neurotic.
Yes. Actually, would you say that the individual may even have more than two personas? In other words, could he possibly?
Oh, rarely. You know,
Rarely.
we can't afford it very well to play more than two roles. But there are cases, for instance, where people have up to 5 different personalities.
Yes.
In cases of dissociation of personality, where, for instance, the one person, say, call it person A, doesn't know of the existence of the person B, but B knows of A.
Yes.
Or there may be a third personality, C, that doesn't know of the two others.
Yes.
You see, there are such cases in literature.
Yes.
They
They
are rare.
Very
the
rare.
ordinary case is just an ordinary dissociation of a personality.
Yes.
One calls that a systematic dissociation,
Yes.
in contradistinction to the chaotic or unsystematic dissociation you find in schizophrenia.
Yes. Now, you distinguish between the term persona and the term ego. In other words, as you see them, they're two different things.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh,
now,
yes.
what is the difference between the term ego, as you see it, and the term
Well,
persona?
you see, the ego is supposed to be the representative of the real person. But as I say, for instance, in the case where B knows of A, but A doesn't know of B,
Yes.
in that case, one would say the ego is more on the side of C.
Yes.
Because the ego has a more complete knowledge, and
Yes.
A is a split-off personality.
Yes. Now, you also use the term self.
Yes.
Now, the word self, then, would this have a different meaning than, say, ego or
Oh, yes,
persona?
oh, quite, oh, yes. You see, when I say self, then you mustn't think of I myself, because that is only your empirical self, and
Yes.
that is covered by the term ego.
Ego, yes.
But when it is matter of the self, then it is matter of a personality that is more complete than the ego, because the ego is only consists of what you are conscious of.
Yes. Yes. Your awareness.
Yeah, what you know to be yourself. For instance, in our example, B that knows A, and A doesn't know B, B is relatively in the position of the self.
Yes.
Namely, the self is on the one side the ego, on the other side the unconscious personality, which everybody is in the possession of everybody, not in the possession. Very often it is just the other way around, that the unconscious is in possession of consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
But that is a different case. Now, you see, while I am talking, I am conscious of what I say,
Yes.
I am conscious of myself, yet only to a certain extent. Quite a lot of things happen. For instance, I make gestures. I'm not conscious of them.
Yes.
They happen unconsciously. You can see them.
Yes.
I may say or use words, and I can't remember at all how to use those words, or even at the moment I'm not conscious of them.
Yes.
So any amount of unconscious things occur in my conscious condition. I'm never wholly conscious of myself.
Yes.
While I'm trying, for instance, to elaborate an argument, at the same time, there are unconscious processes that continue, perhaps a dream, which I had last night.
Yes.
Or a part of myself thinks of God knows what.
Yes.
Or of a trip I'm going to take, or of such and such people I have seen, or when I'm at writing a paper, I'm continuing writing that paper in my mind without knowing it.
Yeah.
You can discover these things, say, in dreams, or if you are clever in immediate observation of an individual, then you see in the gestures or in the expression in the face that there is what one calls une arrière-pensée,
Yes.
something behind consciousness.
Yes.
So that you have finally the feeling, well, that man has something up his sleeve.
Yes.
And you can even ask him now, what are you really thinking of? You're thinking all the time something else, yet he's not conscious of it. Or he may be. There are, of course, great individual differences. There are individuals who have amazing knowledge of themselves, of the things that go on in themselves. But even those people wouldn't be capable of knowing what is going on in their unconscious.
Yeah.
For instance, they are not conscious of the fact that while they live a conscious life, all the time a myth is played in the unconscious. A myth that extends over centuries.
Yes.
Namely, archetypal ideas, a stream of archetypal ideas that goes on through one individual, through the centuries.
Yes.
You see, it is like a continuous stream,
Yes.
and that comes then to the daylight in the great movements.
Yes.
Say in political movements or in spiritual movements. For instance, in the time before Reformation, people dreamt of the great change, and that's the reason why such great transformations could be predicted.
Yeah.
If somebody has been clever enough to see what is going on in people's mind, in the unconscious mind,
Yes.
would be able to predict it. For instance, I have predicted the Nazi rising in Germany through the observation of my German patients.
Yes.
They had dreams in which the whole thing was anticipated,
Yes.
and with considerable detail. And I was already absolutely certain in the years before Hitler came, in the beginning of the, well, I could say the year 1919, I was sure that something was threatening in Germany, something very big and very catastrophic. And I only knew it through the observation of the unconscious.
Of the unconscious.